Eberechi Eze has joined Arsenal, and where did Tottenham get it all wrong? Welcome to the Hedge Press. This is my new YouTube channel. I have been talking on YouTube about the Saudi Pro League. I've been talking on YouTube about fitness and nutrition, and the time has come where I've just got to talk about football on a day-to-day basis. I talk about football on a day-to-day basis anyway, and last night was the final nail in the coffin, because when Eze signed, I just wanted to talk to my mates about it. A lot of my mates are Spurs fans, so they were obviously ignoring me. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I've been thinking about doing it for ages. Let's talk about the Premier League on a day-to-day basis. All the news, all the ups, the downs, everything that it provides, the results, the feedback to the action. And of course, this transfer window has been like no other. The football, the Premier League, it just seems to write its own stories. And Eze last night was one of those ones that in the football world, you remember where you were when it happened. Certainly if you're an Arsenal or a Spurs fan. It looked done. It looked done by Tottenham Hotspurs. I'm going to talk about how I actually sympathise with them a little bit. But yeah, an Arsenal fan who sympathises with Tottenham. But I'm also going to talk about where they got it wrong and why indeed it is a tremendous signing for Arsenal in so many different ways. But the reason I sympathise with Spurs, beyond anything else, is of course, you've seen the likes of Kundi taking the mick out of Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport, and Spurs fans are taking an absolute battering online, and so they should, because a lot of them were being very, very confident in saying that they pulled the rug from Arsenal on the Eze move. It looked like Arsenal, maybe due to financial fair play, couldn't compete. There's a little bit of theory I'm going to talk about in a minute around that, where maybe I think that might have been a bit of a ruse, but the reason I sympathise is because Arsenal went through a similar thing when they built their new stadium. I remember the days when we were linked with Benzema all summer and we ended up getting Marouane Chamakh on a free transfer. I remember the days when we were linked with Julian Draxler, a really exciting German winger, and we ended up with Kim Kallstrom on loan, who turned out to have a broken back. There were really hard times when we built our stadium. People forget that Arsene Wenger finished in the top four every season, despite having to break even every single season. And it got to the point where it was no longer sustainable, and therefore, we fell out of the top four. He actually, ironically, started spending more money when we fell out of the top four. But we brought in so many dud signings on the back of genuine excitement throughout the summer. So that's where I've got a bit of sympathy with Spurs, because the new stadium, it appears they do have the money because they were going to buy Eze, but I do think they sort of double-guessed themselves a little bit when they're going to invest 60 million, particularly maybe when they got stung after Morgan's Gibbs-White, the only team ever, I think, to have a here we go by Fabrizio Romano and it not be accepted. But so I can understand where Spurs maybe kind of were a little bit delicate in their process because it's big money. Where I don't have much sympathy for them is that James Maddison got injured 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. And Son got sold for £20 million, by the way. I mean, how on earth they got £20 million for Son? He's had a marvellous career, but the guy's on his last legs. So they had a 20 million kicker towards getting Eze as well. He's a left-sided player, Eze, who can play number 10. So he quite clearly replaces Maddison, and he quite clearly can replace Son. Even when Maddison comes back, you haven't got a squad interference because you can just push Eze out wide, because I don't think Tell has commanded that spot, nor has Odebear. It just makes sense all round. It enhances the whole squad. I think we all agree Eze is a wonderful footballer. It was a no-brainer, and that delay, that pause, that kind of Daniel Levy-ness maybe affected things, but I think where it really affected things is that late afternoon yesterday, before the Arsenal noise, it came out that maybe they were thinking about putting Richarlison in the deal as an exchange, and apparently it was all agreed anyway, but they liked the idea of getting Richarlison in a swap deal, which I'm not even funny, how often do swap deals even happen? The only one I can think of was Gallas and Ashley Cole. And there was Mkhitaryan and Alexis Sanchez. They're the only two I can think of that actually ever happened in time. There's a lot of dynamics that have got to go together for exchange. I'm not sure Richarlison would particularly want to drop out of the Champions League either, by the way. He just scored 2 goals against Burnley. But it seemed they wanted to do that with a view maybe to get Wissa. And I just think Palace went, hang on a minute, why are you changing the goalpost here? And I think Arsenal smelt a rat. I think they heard this news and they went, well, actually, Havertz has just got injured. Like I said, I've got a theory about that in a minute. Havertz has got injured. We'll take him. We were in for him anyway. We knew that he wanted the Arsenal move. He's an Arsenal boy, Eze. He came through our academy. He went away and fair play to him, grafted at QPR, has risen and went, turns out to be bad business letting him go in the end. But what a tremendous signing for the Arsenal. Bearing in mind that Eddie Nketiah was sold to Palace last year for, I think, around £25 million. It makes the deal even smoother. The fact that we've really got him for around £35, £40 million. is absolute bargain territory for Arsenal. And my theory is, I'm not entirely convinced it was a case of Kai Havertz got injured, so therefore we went and got Eze. Maybe it's a coincidence, I don't know. But Eze is not really a replacement for Havertz. I mean, they're playing completely different positions. I don't see Eze ever playing up front for the Arsenal. I don't see him being the backup to Gyökeres. So what actually happened there? Well, I generally think Arsenal were in for Eze all along. I think maybe in an ideal world, they wouldn't mind tidying up their financial fair play by selling the likes of Zinchenko, Reece Nelson, Gabriel Jesus, whoever it may be, Trossard, who just got a new contract as well yesterday. So I think maybe there was a view to always go back in for him. I think maybe, and I could be, this is me maybe overthinking things, could Berta in his first summer like the idea of hijacking Tottenham to kind of, I mean, I'm funny, I love Berta for doing this, I think it's great, but could that have been in the back of his brain that maybe we could hijack Spurs if they showed a genuine interest, and he knew full well from previous talks that Eze would have come to Arsenal no matter what? Now, there is a slight asterisk next to all of this, because my worry is apparently he's playing tonight for Palace. Now, if he goes and does his leg in or something, this is going to be a real problem. But I've got a feeling he might start from the bench and come on if they absolutely need him. They're at home. They're a good side, Palace. I don't know much about the team they're playing. So I'd like to think they'll get the job done tonight without him. But yeah, really interesting stuff. I think that's probably the move of the summer in the sense of like the way it's actually come about over the course of the weeks and the months. But Tottenham have to look at it that they've missed the ball here. They have to look at it that after walking Gibbs White, there might have been a bit of pressure to get the next one done. And they seem to dawdled and daddied. And I just, there was always this risk of Arsenal in the background. Bear in mind, we knew Eze wanted the Arsenal move. And I just think for them, you can look at it two ways. They better hope it was the case that we were always willing to take him eventually and we just took him off their hands. Because there's a certain extent that there's nothing they could have done about that. But if it was the case that Havertz got injured, so therefore Arsenal responded, even though he's a different type of player, if that is, that's the rumours we're led to believe, that's really poor from Tottenham, because Maddison's been injured for 3 weeks and Arsenal signed Eze in 3 hours. That's not good enough. And for me, like the way I would look at it for Tottenham now is that I would just go all in for Savinho. Man City are making whispers that they don't want to sell. I'd go 70 million. He's a good player. Yeah, he's not quite Eze in the sense that he plays in a different position, more from the right. And obviously they've got Kulusevski and Kudos there. But maybe Kulusevski can come in at 10 and I don't know. But go and get your top player. Go and get, I think they've talked about Tyler Dibling. They've been talking about, obviously, Wissa, just a different type of player again. I think they've identified Savinho. There was a lot of piss taken this morning by people saying, oh, they're going to get Savinho and Eze and they've got nobody. Go to City, get your man. He's a top player, clearly. And I think that is the only way that this can really be. And maybe even they need a Wissa and a Savinho to be able to make up for this, to be honest with you. But for Arsenal, it's a top move. I think one thing that was identified against Manchester United is that Arsenal, we've got people who can do something out of nothing. Saka can do something out of nothing. Rice can do something out of nothing. But we're very, very drilled. Martinelli's very drilled. He knows how to defend. He knows when to go forward. He knows how to receive the ball. Can go a bit up his backside sometimes. But we all like Martinelli. And we bought him for £6 million several years ago. He's a top player. But he can be improved. If I look at him versus Cody Gakpo, if I look at him versus Doku, I'll say Gakpo's probably the best, Doku probably second, and Martinelli probably third. I think Eze goes above those guys. And really, in this really tough title challenge with City clearly being back in the mix with the likes of Reinders and Cherki looking awesome, with the prospect of Rodri coming back as well. Liverpool, of course, they're going to be very, very strong. We want to tick that box that our left winger is better than theirs. Right wing, of course, you've got Salah, Man City got Cherki and potential Foden. And so top players on the right-hand side. Up front, Gyökeres remains to be seen. We know Haaland's probably the best in the league. It looks like Ekitike and potentially Isak. So Arsenal needed to improve a part of the attack because at the moment, I would say we're not quite as good as those guys. But Eze ticks that box. He is better than Gakpo. In my opinion, he's better than Doku. Suddenly, we've got a real top winger. But we've also got a winger who can play at 10, puts a bit of pressure under Odegaard. I'm not having it that it slows down Nwaneri's development. I think the conversation has been had there that this guy is the future. He's a young man. Eze's 27. Even in 3 years' time, if Nwaneri comes through, he's still a very, very young man. So I think if anything, it raises the bar for Nwaneri and indeed Max Dowman to reach. So yeah, I think it's a good thing for those guys to work harder. Getting the Arsenal is getting harder for you. Stick around because we want you, but are you going to raise to the challenge? But Eze just has that little bit of X factor, that little bit of a drop of a shoulder and magic happens. A free kick when magic happens. I know Declan Rice did that against Real Madrid, but it's few and far between, right? He'd never done that before. Eze far more consistent on that basis. He has that kind of ability to unlock a defence. I think Gyökeres could thrive from it. And I just think it's such a great sign of the Arsenal in the sense of he's Premier League proven, he's ready, he wants to make the jump, he wants to join the Arsenal. And yeah, I think it's super exciting. And it's to the detriment of Spurs, which I guess for an Arsenal fan makes it even better. But I do feel sorry for him a little bit because I can see where maybe there was things out of their control. And as an Arsenal fan 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, that was certainly the case for us with the new stadium coming in. I hope you enjoyed that. That is the Hedge Press. I'm going to come on here every single day and talk about the football news. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking, unless something else blows up today, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about Bluco, Chelsea, Strasbourg, Julio Enzo, these signings. Is it right? Is it wrong? What's the difference between this and Etihad getting involved with City and the 115 charges? I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. So please hit the subscribe button and I will be here every single day with results, with feedback, with all the news. I'm so excited to be on this page. And yeah, I really hope you want to come along for the ride. All the best. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.